There's 10 stages of life. The very first stage that we see is that you hear this word, awaches, awaches. And this is the smallest spirit that is given to women. It descends each month of every 13 moons. We follow a 13-moon cycle. The white people follow a chronological number of 12 calendar months. That's what they follow, but we follow the 13 moons as inherited and given to us by our Creator to follow that moon cycle. So each moon cycle, when you enter into your womanhood, you will receive the spirit that will descend. And if that man and woman don't come together to create that spiritual being, that spiritual being merely goes back to where it was given from through your moon cycles, eh? So the next stage to this, when a man and woman comes together, pay close attention to this AW, awa. I'll explain what that actually means, awa. Because that's the main value to that. When the next stage comes, the second stage to life, entering into this world, we call it awawe. Egiska awawashot, awawe, becomes a spiritual aid. Again, you'll hear this particular one here, awa, awa, maintaining that value of the language. So now for the next 9 months, if Miggy and Bichayagota, inside the womb, 9 months, you were given 7 spiritual things. And one of the things that we were disconnected from that spiritual world was the umbilical cord and that spiritual tree that we sit on. So you were given 2 legs, 2 arms, a torso, and a head. That's 6. The 7th element was your connection from your belly button to that spiritual world. So when that when you enter into this world, we go to this next term, the 3rd stage. We call it awasis. Awasis. And this particular term does not mean child to us, how we translate it, awasis. It talks about this word here, awasis, is translated like this. There's 2 words to this, awa, sis. The term, the very first term that we hear is awi, go, wis, se, win. Ewi goisyak, awi goisun, that we are being lent this life. This is the short term to this awa. The second term to this is this. This is the term for this awa, the short parable, awa. Awi goisun, that we are being lent to life. This here, the second word that you say here, go, gi, se, go, sis, ugi, segusis, meaning a spiritual, a spirit, a spirit, a spirit. Spiritual being. Hence the word, the parable, oasis. It's no longer a child to us. You women, when you have these children, when you have children, they may come through you. You may house them. They may come through you, but they're not yours. You're being lent this spirit. They belong to the Creator, and this is where this family enhancement begins. We need to go back and understand this process rather than working with this. So this is the word, we're being lent a spiritual being, and we need to treat it as such. After this, I was up in Toronto. I was doing a presentation with doctors and physicians up in Toronto. And what they said to me is, why do we work with these diamond shape? They talk about this diamond shape. In a square, we call it egagigiak. But when you stretch this into that diamond, we refer to that as gashipigigiak. Gashipigigiak. And when you take a look at a child's head when they're born, there's a soft spot. Each of you, all of you, had this. The top of our heads look like this. There's a diamond on top. They call this a fontanel. This is where we have a name for this. We call it Opigo Pan, the very first stage. It talks about the residue of ashes of where the spirit came through. Opigo Pan. There's 3 stages to that. The third stage is Opigipan, that it is our task, our spiritual responsibility to help that child Awashis close this. And once it's done, they call it Omino Pan. Omino Pan, Omino Panigata. This little portal back here, they call this the crown. We call that Uchichipan. Uchichipan. This is where your spiritual helper leaves to go venture out into the star world, the land. It shows you, that's how we connect to that land. But as I was doing this presentation in Toronto, this technician has been there for 27 years. Says, I'm very profound of what you are saying. I've been a technician for over 27 years as a, what do you call that? Ultrasound technician for 27 years. When a First Nation woman comes into the hospital and I do this procedure on her, on top of that head is the very first thing is I see this diamond on top of a First Nation child's head. Yeah, other than that, when a white person comes in, their fontanel is in this oval shape. It's not in this structure. It could be Chinese, Filipino, Hindu. Their heads are like this. Eutamak. That's how we say oval. Eutamak. Eutamak. Eutamak is tigonechik. My grandmother used to have a half of those. Go utsam stigones is gito. Go lusim ga utsam. Eutamak is tigones. So again, this is how this shape came into play with these symmetrical diamonds on this blanket, because they came from the spirit world, this particular diamond. And this is the reason why we call those diamond willows, we call them sipiatibok. Sipiatik, because they have those symmetrical diamonds on there. And that's how, through our lodges, we connect up here using this. So again, it takes 13 moons for the top of the head to close. 13 moons. That is when there's various ceremonies that occur that our people. One of them is Kante Nastanyo agak maisit Kante wa tamatsige utatamate pamison. There is a placenta ceremony that is done, but being able to understand that. My grandmother always talked about that ceremony, and I helped her dig out these trees, particular trees, where she went and put these things away. Because this tree that we now sit on, the spiritual tree, we now need to connect it to this tree, the popular tree. Hence the word, that's where this word comes from, Ogimawatik. And I'll show you a picture of that after. So again, being able to comprehend that knowledge, this knowledge belongs to us. It belongs to your children, your grandchildren, in the future. That's why I now promote this stuff,